This story is so fucked up, brother. This is gonna blow your mind. This is the story of my Moroccan Mafia cellmate I was banged up with for a month. I remember walking out the yard, sussing everybody out, and I see this one fella. Everybody had mad respect for him. And he was walking around the yard and he reminded me of Tony Montana. He was only small, bruv. He was probably about 5'8". 5'10" maximum. He was small. His name was Wayeed. He was French, Moroccan, but he was from Marseille. So anybody who knows anything about the underworld in Marseille, they don't class themselves as French. They class themselves as Marseillan, a whole nother organisation in their own right. And as it happened, Wayeed was in for credit card fraud, and he was in with this other geezer called Nasser, and they were in the same family, but Nasser was just there all day long playing cards, sick at cards, you know what I mean? When you went into Foncolent, there were cells right at the top, and that is where you were trying to get to, because you were left alone up there, and all the top boys were at the top. And there was I think it was about 4 cells up there, and he had one of them. He was pretty much running shit in his own right. The other ones at the cell was the 2 Brummies, yeah, who pretty much had the wing on lock anyway. And then you had a Colombian gang in there and Spanish up there. So I was on the yard one day and we never had anything in there. All I had was a chessboard, and I loved this chessboard. I loved playing chess every single fucking day. And there was this Colombian gang, and they were young, man, and they was in there for coke. One of them just randomly come up to me one day and just, in the middle of a game, you know what I'm saying, pieces out me playing a Spanish lad, whipped the fucking board and just walked off with it. And I was like, fuck this, I ain't having this. So I got right up in his face. When you got nothing in there and he's just in front of everybody took that shit, nah bruv, I weren't having it. So I got up in his face, and the one who stepped in to stop it was Wayeed. It got in between us and separated it. Them boys wanted to fucking kill me for that shit, just for standing up to him. And that was the main interaction I had with Wayeed, because he knew I was cool with the Brummie boys. He stepped in and mediated that situation before it got out of hand. So the World Cup was on, and it was France versus Spain, and Wayeed at the cell next to these 2 Spanish men. So they were giving it all the way through the game, and as that happened, I think France beat them. So as soon as they opened that cell door the next morning and that door popped, Wayeed set about both of these fellas and fucked them over in a bad way. And he ended up getting quite a lot of time put on his sentence because of that. It was like that in Spanish jail. If you get caught doing some shit like that, they put mad time on your sentence. A week or so went on. Next thing you know, it's just me and my mate George, yeah, the Romanian lad, in this cell. And this one night, it's about 6 in the evening, and the cell door opens and Wayeed comes walking in the cell. So he's come in and he's literally laid the fucking law down with us 2 and said how it's gonna go, what's gotta go down, the way it's going down, when it's going down, and you ain't gonna say shit about it. Like, George weren't a fighting type, and I thought, I ain't messing about with this, man. I ain't doing it, bruv. Like, I've seen how firmed up he is around the yard. Everybody knows this geezer. This geezer could have me in trouble and make my life hard real quick. It was only like minor things, like when you have a shit, because you're shitting right there in front of everybody. There's no fucking door, there's nothing, bruv. You gotta watch, hear, and the worst thing, smell, and you taste that shit, bruv. You gotta put your head or under your cover so you don't smell next man's shit. So there was a procedure on how you take a shit in jail. We're in this fucking Foncolent there was, because there's 3 man to a 3x4 cell. That's tiny, bruv. You know what I mean? There's no escaping it. He was laying it down, and I weren't really talking back about it, bruv. You know, I just wanted to be his mate and be cool with this fella, because it was a strategic move on my part. So the longer I'm in there with this fella, we become brothers, man. We can't become really close, and he's starting to tell me about his family and what he's really involved with. And if you really want to go and have a little look at it, the longer version on my YouTube channel, but his girlfriend was actually, they got arrested at the same time, but she was in the North prison, in a female prison, and he was in Foncolent. And the only way that they could send messages to each other was by a radio station on a Friday night. They were both texting, like, I love you, babe, I love you, from the north and from the south. Quite mad, you know, to see it and listening to it. So I'm getting real close with this fella. His brother was shot with a Kalashnikov on Marseille Pier, Marseille Harbour, in a cafe. And, you know, he was showing me all the news articles of all the gang hits and shit. Well, everything what was to do with their people, you know, and their family. I knew he was a fucking stone cold killer, but a quality fella. One of us, man. He was like a normal guy. So in my little circle who I come in with, Tony and Don, they were at this point, Don, the old fella, if you go and look at the stories, he was creating an army among the Moroccans in there, right? He had the Moroccan link. So he knew the Moroccans, he had houses in Morocco, so he spent a lot of time there. And he was an old guy, you know what I'm saying? And he had a suit in jail, and they called him Don Corleone. And he literally was paying his way, yeah, through cigarettes, through phone cards, and he was building an army in there, yeah, because what you've got to understand is the way that us three went down together, and these were old men, you know what I'm saying? I was a 22-year-old lad, and one was about 60 and one was 80, you know, so there was nothing that they could ever have done to help me apart from financially. But I loved Don. Like, I really got close to him because, you know, he was blaming Tony for the reason why the Heat came on top and we all went down. And that's a whole nother story as well. And he weren't wrong, but he was at an age where, fuck me, man, he shouldn't have been in jail. He was too old to be in jail anyway. And the reason why he was there was because of Tony. I had to keep it cool because Tony was the money man, dealing with the lawyer. But these were two men that were sat next to each other, talking to each other twice a day for meals, yeah, in the canteen, like nothing was going on. But Don was building an army with these Moroccans to turn on Tony. So one day we're in the cell, Waheed comes walking in and he said, "Rick, sit down, I want to talk to you." I was like, okay. And he goes, "Your friend, Don, he offered me 100,000 euro to kill your friend." I was took back, bruv, because I never knew that he was ready to take it to them levels, you know, but he was an old man, you know what I'm saying? He'd just been stitched right up. So these are two men who were just talking to each other like there was nothing up, but he was trying to put a hit out on him. And Waheed weren't around Don in the yard with the other Moroccans, but the other Moroccans come to Waheed as the main hitter. You know what I mean? So he sat me down and he said, "Rick, out of respect for you and the situation you're in with this man, and he's paying for your lawyers and it would just be fucking you over, and I consider you a brother, and I actually want to get out of this place, I ain't gonna do it. You got to understand this. In my country, I will cut his head off and eat it for that money." You know, so this is the sort of people we're dealing with here. You know, and he already knew how he was gonna do it, you know, because Tony had a job mopping right at the top landing and down the stairs. So he was going to do him at the top and then send him flying down the stairs to make it look like that's what happened. So he had it all figured out, you know, and I wouldn't have fucked with him. So Tony never knew how bad of a situation and how lucky he was to walk out of that place alive. When I got out, you know, I got out first, Tony got out second, and then Don come out last. And I was a bit worried for Tony when I got out of there. I was a bit worried for his safety, man. It is what it is, isn't it? So as time went on with Waheed, Brommy boys got out and they left us their mobile phone. So this changed everything. And he left us this like stereo, right? When you took it apart, you could fit the phone with the charger inside it, put it back together, and it still played music. So it's perfect, you know what I'm saying? So me and Waheed, we was just sharing the phone between us. And then it was my time to get out. And it was hard saying goodbye to them boys, man, because I got well close to them at this point. Waheed, he gave me a hug and he said, "Look, Rick, even if I don't see you again, man, just do me one favor. Just call this phone now and again and see how we are." And you know what? I got out of that place and I never looked back. And I do regret not keeping in touch there, but I wanted to leave that shit well in the past. Waheed, I don't know where you're at, brother, but there weren't too many people that were more gangster than you. Mind, there you go.